Well, welcome once again to another session of the 11th Annual Transforming the Teaching and Learning Environment Virtual Conference presented by Northeastern State University. Today's session is one of the 60-hour-long sessions we have to Friday, February 14th. I'm Bob Ailes, and I am your moderator. As a reminder, all of our sessions are closed caption. To view the caption, simply click on the closed caption icon on the toolbar at the bottom of the screen. Today's session is aligning online curriculum with rapidly changing market needs. We have with us Jacob Krive and Miriam Isola. They're both from the University of Illinois at Chicago. And I tell you, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about it, because universities are usually pretty slow in changing curriculum. So tell us what we need to know.
Okay, I'm going to get started. Good morning, everyone. I'm Miriam Isola, a clinical assistant professor at University of Illinois at Chicago. I'm in the Department of Biomedical Health and Information Sciences, and I am the program director for our online master's degree in health informatics. My colleague Jacob Krive is also on the faculty, and we collaborate together on curriculum development for the health informatics program. Today, what we want to talk to you about is aligning curriculum with labor market needs. The health informatics, we've been just kicking things off. We've been talking about what a dynamic field it is, and health informatics is rapidly maturing and developing. So health informatics is about use of technology in healthcare. And this creates some very interesting challenges for us as we're developing curriculum that both aligns with the student needs to prepare for the job market and with the needs of employers. So this is the challenge that we've been working on together. Over the past 3 years, we've developed a new concentration within our master's degree, and this is one of the new directions in health informatics, going into health data science. Over the past 10 to 15 years, healthcare has been focused on installing electronic medical records and other kinds of clinical information systems. So now they're at the point where they're collecting a lot of data. And so this makes analytics and the use of the data a very hot topic. Our students are interested in courses in this area, and as we'll see with some of our slides, there's a need to, employers are looking for people that are skilled in this area. So the health data science concentration is a really good example of how our program has responded to a new direction in our field and looks to rapidly change our curriculum to meet and align with the market needs. So I'll begin today by giving some background on our program, the health data science concentration, and how it's led to us expanding out from our master's program into a couple of other areas. Then I will turn this over to Jacob, and he will discuss what is driving this need for innovation to develop curriculum that's aligning with industry needs. So this first slide here gives you a little bit of background about our program. We launched in 1999, and in 2006 we became a completely online delivery of the program. 2010 we became the first accredited master's degree in health informatics offered online. And today we're one of the largest programs. We may be the largest program offering a master's online. We have over 400 students and more than 800 graduates of the program. We have students that come from the healthcare field, so they come with a background in clinical areas. We have physicians, nurses, pharmacists, med techs, people from health information management, a lot of different healthcare areas that are working professionally in the field, and then they come back to get a master's degree with us. Some of our students are technical, and some of our students have more of a business focus. They may be leaders in their organizations, and they may find that they need some more background in how technology is being used in healthcare. Our students come from everywhere. They come from all different states and foreign countries, and this diversity gives us a real differentiator. Not only do we have current students from all over, but we have graduates that are all over and that are working in the field now. So this gives us a potentially really good source to go to understand what work they're doing today after having gotten our degree and what the needs are for employers today so that we can continue to stay aligned. So on the next slide, Jacob, if you would advance, thank you. We have the knowledge domains for health data science, and you can see in this Venn diagram that there's 3 major domains that we cover. A domain expertise in our case is healthcare, and then there's computer science and math and statistics. All of this coming together to health data science in the middle. So the points off to the right-hand side of the slide discuss our approach to designing the courses to cover all of these knowledge areas, and then also to go on from there to building skills so that students can operate successfully in real-world work scenarios. Some of these skills that we focus on incorporating are critical thinking, flexibility in approach to problem solving, ability to work with ambiguity. When they get out into the real world, every problem isn't fully defined for them. So they need to be able to be flexible and to be able to problem solve in ambiguous situations. We want to teach them how to take an iterative approach and develop an experimenting approach to things so that they have confidence developing different solutions to these problems that they'll encounter as they go into the real world. So as you can see, we cover the knowledge and domain areas, but we also focus on these kinds of skills and professional attitudes that they need to be successful as they build their careers. Both Jacob and I have a lot of industry experience. We've worked as consultants, we worked in academic medical centers, hospitals, ambulatory environments, life science companies, healthcare related businesses of all kinds. So this experience that we have as practitioners and working in the industry gave us insight into what industry needs are. I think this was a big thing in helping us get off to a fast start in aligning our curriculum. So we drew on our background to design the courses, design the assignments in such a way that they simulate real world work. We do use textbooks to build background knowledge on the health data science concepts, but we go beyond textbooks to use other kinds of things that may be published much more quickly. White papers, other kinds of position papers, or articles that are published online. So if Mayo is publishing something, or somebody, Cleveland Clinic is publishing something and they're doing something now, we like to bring that into the classroom also to bolster the concepts that we do find in the textbooks. We also use video and live lectures to provide faculty presence and interaction with our students. We have asynchronous online discussions that are used for students to talk about the exercises they're doing and interact with each other, about how they're approaching their assignment, and so they can ask us questions too. The assignments essentially are hands-on data analysis or solution design type of exercises. And they're all designed to keep students on the leading edge of what is going on in our field and bringing them up to speed with these skills quickly. So on the next slide, we get into some detail about some of the competencies. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but you'll see there's a list of 50 of them. And we went through a very deliberate process to arrive at this list of competencies. One of the things we did was to speak with people that we know in the industry, and we asked them this question. If you were hiring someone for your data science team, what skills and competencies would you want them to have? And as we talked to people, we continued to revise our list and get their input, incorporate it in. And after several iterations of doing this, we arrived at these 4 major categories and grouped these things into what ended up being 50 different competencies, or things that students will have done by the time they finish their health data science concentration. So they will have done things like make projections and recognizing trends. They will have analyzed data to facilitate decisions and actions. So we're not just analyzing data for the sake of analyzing it, but tying it into decisions and how the data is used to make decisions. They will have acquired and cleaned and managed data. So you see it's a lot of hands-on kinds of things that they'll be doing. So on to the next slide. Here you can see at the first point there some of the classes that we developed. We did an intro and advanced data science course. We have a data visualization course where students use Tableau to create data visualizations and dashboards. We have an artificial intelligence, programming, clinical decision support. All of these courses we developed as part of the concentration. The concentration started in 2018, fall of 2018. And by fall of 2019, we had 85 of our 400 students pursuing the concentration. So it was immediately very popular with everybody. And as we look at the students that are applying for our program today, a great majority of them are identifying healthcare analytics to be one of the key reasons why they want to pursue the master's degree. So we expect the number of students going after the concentration to continue to grow, and we'll have to keep our eyes on what more is happening and continue to do what we did the first time, and that is to keep aligning our curriculum. So from here, the rest of the points on this slide begin to get into how we took some of the work we did for the concentration and then began to develop other educational pathways using these same courses. So here's where we start to get into innovation, not just within the course, but at the program level. We did this to meet the needs of different kinds of students who may not want to pursue a master's degree. The second point on there was we developed some certificates with 12 credit hours in them. This was done so that the students could quickly skill up and have a quick entry into the health informatics field. And they already have a professional degree, and they just want to get some of these additional skills to go along with their degree. Beyond the certificates, we also went into a collaboration with the College of Medicine on campus and our artificial intelligence course. This is something that's ongoing right now. In fact, just next month, we're going to pilot this course. This was originally a course in our health data science concentration, but we heard from the College of Medicine, and their curriculum didn't include anything in artificial intelligence. So they recognize the need for their medical students to be able to practice medicine with an understanding of what artificial intelligence is and how it's going to impact their practice of medicine. So more to come on that as we roll that out next month, but we're very excited about moving into this area. And then finally, at the bottom of this slide, we're also dipping our toe into the water in the undergraduate world. In computer science, UIC has, I think, over 1,000 undergraduates in computer science. It's a very growing area on campus. Getting a bachelor's degree in computer science, they're now going to be allowed to pursue a health data science concentration at the undergraduate level. So they'll apply their computer science in the healthcare world. So I think all of these examples show the need to align curriculum with rapidly changing market needs. And it requires us to keep in touch with what's going on in the industry and to find a way to rapidly infuse this into our curriculum with relevant assignments and current materials. So now I'm going to turn this over to Jacob to more closely examine what's driving the need for innovation in some specific areas.
Well, thank you, Miriam, and good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are, everyone. So I am going to talk a little bit about the field and the challenges and excitement in the field, as well as what we do to keep up with it. And the field of informatics, if I take it a level up in terms of where it all started, so Miriam covered the latest and greatest in terms of where healthcare data science stands, but it all took root in electronic medical records when it was initially created to transition paper medical records into electronic medical records. And at the time, it was very new field where practically no professionals existed that had education in informatics. So they came from other areas, and it immediately created a gap that was filled in good part by our very new at the time program at UIC, with foundational core informatics curriculum, which is still very much up and running and doing quite well. However, this field is maturing. It's not exactly less exciting, but it originated a number of other fields, such as now that we've digitized all the patient records, are we going to just continue managing those records and adding new modules and models to this record systems, or are we going to get into the new fields such as data analysis and mobile computing and analysis of big data? And this is where this niche subfields of informatics spring up. And so we cannot continue just celebrating the fact that we are one of the largest programs out there. We used to be one of the very few, and now we are one of many, and everyone is running after informatics. But informatics has changed, and it created roots for other domains, and so we cannot just continue running our successful and award-winning program in informatics. We have to continue to innovate. So the market drives what we educate students for, and students come to us with certain expectations that we will give them the latest skills, and not only the latest skills, but the skills that will time-proof their degree, that they can use 5 or 10 years from now. This may be a lot to ask, and yet it's important because that's the market demand. And now that there is more competition in the education domain, we have to think about how we stand out from the crowd, and we used to not be even in a crowd in the past. It also is a challenge that our specialty is multidisciplinary. We take students from all kinds of backgrounds. In general, informatics and health data science are at the crossroads or building a bridge between computer sciences and medical sciences. So by definition, it's interdisciplinary program, and yet so we sometimes get students who are purely clinical, such as nurse, physician, pharmacist, a tech, We sometimes get students who are purely technical, coming from programming backgrounds, data analysis backgrounds. They're the students who can take advantage of the clinical content that they are not familiar with, or the technical content they're not familiar with. They may be strong in one area, not so strong in the other area. But then we also have students who come from, let's say, business sales backgrounds, who have nothing, no new knowledge about clinical or technical. And so we need to figure out a way to serve them as well. But also, the market is very open to those professionals who are willing to step into multidisciplinary area. For example, the number of potential job opportunities for a nurse who is willing to become technical or semi-technical, at least with some data analysis skills, for example, is huge. There is practically no nurses who are not even so much able, but even willing to step into this area. But some students recognize that this is a huge area of opportunity, and they expect us to do well for them and to open up those educational pathways to help them out. And then there is the accreditation from one of the governing bodies in our profession, is the CAHIM, and it requires a competency-driven curriculum that Miriam addressed on one of the previous slides, where we again have to address these layers of skills and professional attitudes. Of course, as any other program, we could continue innovating infinitely. We do have those combinations of backgrounds and the strengths of people who have been career academics, who have come from the industry, and putting our heads and skills together. We could continue innovating endlessly, but we do need to analyze the market for the best opportunities, because we certainly do not have the budget to do all of it. So we must target the most relevant domains when resources are scarce. And so with that, we actually have to engage professional communities to spot the emerging technologies. Some comes from this variety of professional backgrounds that we have on the team already. So we know what happens in the industry. We try to remain in constant touch with the industry, and yet, having said that, a few of us have done a lot in the industry. We couldn't possibly cover everything, and so we've created an advisory board where we include different industry and academia leaders who bring in different perspectives. They meet regularly to advise us on topics that of interest in terms of where do we need to go. Advisory board is often focused on something that we would be doing in 3 to 5 years or longer, not necessarily where we need to be next month, because next month we pretty much know, and even the routine, the processing routine, would take us a year or two in advance if we wanted to start building the roots for new curriculum innovations today. So we combine all the strengths of consultants who are available to us, the faculty who have done different things in different areas. And we also look into what skills are needed in the market and reanalyze it, because in this field, we simply don't have the option to maintain the same curriculum static for long periods of time. And when I say long, a year may be a long time in this field, and it's just the reality of it. We don't have an option of running an established curriculum. In fact, we never even have a chance to establish it, because once it's established, it's old. And it's just the nature of the field. So running fully proven, tested and retested by time curriculum is simply not an option, because it no longer addresses what students expect from us. And of course, what they expect from us is immediately applicable skills that they can put in the market, and the expectation, especially from millennial generations, are that what I learned today, I put on my resume tomorrow, and I'm interviewing for it the day after tomorrow. And if that immediate expectation is not met, they look for other options. So when we develop curriculum, and we've, Miriam discussed our collaboration with College of Medicine that we're so excited about, and running a pilot of teaching artificial intelligence to future medical professionals next month, we go through a series of negotiations where we bring in our industry perspective and the view. Maybe we collaborated with physicians currently or in the past. We know how they operate, what their needs are. But we are running the curriculum for our students, let's say in the master's degree program. We're not in charge of the College of Medicine curriculum. It's a different culture. It's a different curriculum. It's a different governing body behind their curriculum. And so we go through this, we call it negotiations of, we bring our content. The professionals from College of Medicine in this example tell us whether this content is relevant to them, or perhaps it's relevant to them, or perhaps they don't even know if it's relevant to them. We bring in that expertise, but they consult us on whether it matches the culture or what needs to be adjusted for medical students to be successful learning this curriculum. We bring in influences from recent events, and this is where live lectures help us, and even managing online classroom that is so easy to adjust and change and update helps in this regard. And oftentimes, for example, when I lecture, I may have had an industry meeting in the morning and my lecture in the evening, and I may have already written down the outline and the notes for it. And then I say, well, before we get into what I was planning to talk about, let me just tell you about this exciting meeting that I had in the morning. Or maybe that meeting actually ended with nothing, as in we identified a lot of challenges and we have no solutions. But we tell students that this is the field where there are more questions than answers, and it's okay to say, I don't know, as long as you're willing to investigate. And we even run on the presumption that our content of the assignments is purposely vague. When we resemble the field, there is no answer, there is no 1, 2, 3 ABCD approach to solving a problem. There is more than one way to solve a problem. So we constantly run in parallel. If there are more questions than solutions in the industry, we want our assignments to be just that. If everything is vague and not everyone has a clear answer, we want our students to face the same challenges when they work on the assignments, and it's totally normal for them to ask questions. I have no clue. I think I'm going in the right way, or am I going in the right way? This is what I am doing. Tell me what can be done. And we often get in and we tell them, well, this you may be on the right track. Consider something else as well. So we try to sort of create a little bit of an academic experience for them that is a sort of a test domain for situations that they can find themselves in the real world. Also, we have an issue with textbooks, because once the textbook is written and before it comes off the printer, it's already old in this field. Textbooks, we cannot wait for textbooks to give us the peer-reviewed and tested assignments at the end of the chapters, because one, they simply don't exist to address the latest industry trends, and two, they may be a little outdated even by the time they're printed. So we found a different role for textbooks. We actually employ those as building the background. For example, we would want students to build their backgrounds on population health, in understanding generally what population health is, or evidence-based medicine, before they take on an assignment in defining clinical quality measures or patient safety. So we found that we don't have time for everything in lectures. We don't have the luxury of time within our 8-week terms. So we want them to keep reading to build their domain knowledge, and we help them with highlights during these lectures. So they build their domain knowledge from textbooks. They get the latest updates via lectures, and then they work on assignments that will take them into the depths of current challenges that exist in the industry. And this background is what we consider the domain knowledge. It's about half of the success, if not more than half, because this is the strength. There are other programs who produce data science generalists who can work with data, but they're not necessarily prepared to work with the healthcare data specifically. So we graduates those students who understand the domain that they operate in specifically to prepare them for healthcare industry jobs, where they would do a better job from the get-go, working with healthcare related content as opposed to a deeply technical generalist. So we take a different approach to again differentiate ourselves. And so we come to a point when we have to make those tough decisions. Do we fully go for academic rigor, time-tested approach, wait for solid peer-reviewed textbook to appear out there, to fully build curriculum and go through lots of discussions and our library time and everything else that comes with going sort of all the way full circle with curriculum creation, or do we take approaches that allow higher degree of experimentation in our curriculum, where maybe we are experimenting where we don't know if it's fully proven. It probably is not. Do we just take the risk and infuse what's happening in the industry into the curriculum right away, and prepare our students to face the new challenges, or do we wait to fully ensure that we have a 100%, 150% rigor? And this is a balancing act where we made a conscious decision that we will serve our students better by innovating and experimenting. We will also be more competitive because the program needs to survive economically. We all love academic content and being academically strong, but at the end of the day, the department can only survive if there are students in it, and if we have sufficient tuition dollars that are coming in to support us. And this is where the needs to get into the latest and greatest fields and highly changing fields drives student desire to be with us, and so it helps us innovate. It brings the infusion of enrollments, but we have to return the favor and produce the latest and greatest and relevant content. So this kind of leads us to developing a new academic culture. We even have differences on the faculty team sometimes in approaches to this, because not everyone has lived through that much change. And oftentimes it's negotiations and it's exchange of experience in terms of how to do it differently and how to keep up with what's happening in the industry for which we prepare our graduates. So as Miriam mentioned, we have only been live with our approaches in our healthcare data science track for a little over a year. However, we've had some successes. In front of you are some of the actual copy-paste responses from students who are thrilled about how relatable education is, and they may have brought it immediately into their work routines if they are already in the field. Sometimes they were surprised about how much they were able to do in terms of standing up a new solution from scratch that actually resembles something that could be put into immediate use in the industry. And sometimes it's perhaps one or two tasks that were taken out of the overall context, and it excited students either because they were able to apply it immediately, or they thought that they would apply it immediately. And it kind of brings up the question also, some students don't know what they should be excited for. They come to us as experts and we tell them what they need to be educated on and where they can succeed. So we do not fully just rely on evaluations. We'd love to see happy students, but we also need to do what's right with our expertise and with our consulting expertise that helps us define career passes. Some of this components, you see the brief responses such as analytics. The future is data. And then you see the actual tangible outcomes, such as at the bottom of the screen. I accepted a clinical analyst position at a local hospital. We actually are happy to see that some of our students even take jobs with small startups. Those tend to be the most innovative firms that only get into what's hot in the industry, and they're not in traditional informatics businesses or not traditional businesses in general. I've worked with a couple of those students specifically to prepare them for interviews, and they were super excited to let us know that they got the jobs, and they fully credited the program for getting them to this point. So it's great to see students not only going to traditional hospitals and well-established pharma companies, for example, but get into small startups and innovating at the bleeding edge of it. It's all these outcomes. We're just starting to build this foundation and these responses from the early graduates, but it sounds like our risks are starting to pay off. And with that, I will turn it back to Miriam to bring up some of the important questions.
So we have put out on the next few slides a couple of questions to see if anybody in the audience is interested in discussing them more. This is first one is a little bit of a provocative question, taking a look at to what extent a curriculum should be focusing on the selling features to attract students. We'd be interested to know from any of those of you who are listening what your thoughts are on focusing on curriculum in this way. And while you think about that a little bit, I see that there were a couple of people that posted some chat comments about advisory board and community panels. So Jacob touched on that we do have an advisory board that is made up of people from the industry that come in. We're actually going to beef up our efforts along those lines and look for creating more of a two-way street even than that with industry partners, and look for ways to see potentially how that could lead to practicum experiences for our students and that kind of thing too. So we view the advisory board as an excellent opportunity to get input, and we look for their participation, and it's going to be expanded within the next year. Any thoughts from anyone on curriculum having unique selling features that will attract students? Does anybody else think of their curriculum in that way? As you think about that, oh, here's a chat. Curriculum is separate from the academic program itself. I'm not sure that we do think of that as separate. I think we would think of the curriculum as the main foundation of the program, although not the only element of the program. I think this also starts to get into other areas. What are the components of a program? And it includes the faculty, it includes marketing efforts, it includes a variety of different things. I think a lot of people do think of the curriculum as equal to the program. Yes, and I do think John in the chat is mentioning outcomes. People from outside look at outcomes these days. We are definitely going to be looking at outcomes, and as we've spent a lot of time with the health data science concentration, our next question is, what's next? What other concentration do we need to focus on next? So we will be looking for the outcomes from this first experience and looking to apply them with future directions also. Outcomes for us would be grades, for one thing, our students being successful. But I think the key outcome that we're trying to get a handle on is how successful are our students in getting jobs? How successful are they in building their careers in this field once they've left? So really for us, outcomes is moving into a new area beyond just grades to looking at that kind of an outcome. How well does our curriculum link to the labor market needs? Yes. It's not an easy thing to collect data on, though. I've been involved with educator forums, other program directors, other people that have accredited programs. We talk about how do we get the data to be able to measure these kinds of outcomes, and it's not easy. So Jacob, can you flip down, I don't know, do we still have that last slide that I put on about linking curriculum to the labor market needs?
Let's see.
Is there
Yeah.
one? Yeah, this one. This is a new effort that we're starting to define more deeply just as of last month. So what do we do to link the curriculum to the labor market needs? And we've started grouping some actual initiatives, things that we will do this year, into 3 categories. What are we going to do to build the student mindset, to prepare them for the job market? What will we do as far as advising students along the way, maybe even in the beginning as they first come into the program? And third, what will we do to build program linkages, build relationships with some of our industry partners? So this is a list of things that we have on our plate for this year to build our program, linking our curriculum to the labor market in these 3 areas. But what spurred me on to bringing this up was the question about data. And we hope that these initiatives will lead us to better data on understanding where our students go and what happens as far as how successful was our curriculum in preparing them for their careers. Jacob, did you, from your perspective, did you have any additional questions? We flipped by a couple of them that you think the group would like to talk about some more. That's a good one.
Maybe we'll turn to this one. Should new curriculum design be done within the existing structure of the faculty, or entirely new committees and partnerships between different departments? So, kind of does the effort come from within, or is it changing? Is it sort of the shift into into different partnerships and building momentum and how do you get buy-ins from these partnerships inside of a university, inside of the school or whatever the structure might be?
Another thing for us that is an advantage is that we're located in the city of Chicago. And so there are a lot of healthcare industry. In fact, some people are calling Chicago a health tech hub of sorts. A lot of the big professional organizations are located in Chicago. So we can take that as an advantage to be looking at how we can build strong relationships with those organizations and other healthcare related companies to inform us in terms of our curriculum.
Yeah, and the point is to be closer to the market because ultimately that is our biggest measure of success. If we stay aside from pure academic rigor, this is also the challenge and the dilemma of how you balance academic rigor and the realities of the market and all this partnership and the needs that they define, which sometimes may be one and the same goal, and sometimes there are serious discrepancies where you have to make some tough choices.
I guess I would just open it up to any other questions then from anybody who is listening. Maybe we didn't cover a question that is on your mind or anything else that you'd like to bring up.
Or feel free to address what's on the screen as well.
I would be interested to hear from anybody else about speed in terms of updating curriculum. And this is a big challenge, and for us, getting through our academic affairs process on campus takes a year. So you can submit your proposal, and then as it goes through all of the committees for approvals, it actually ends up taking about a year. So you have to think well in advance. You have to be prepared. You can't miss that timeline because then it's going to take you a year and a half. So I'd like to know what others have done, if there's anything that somebody else is doing to quickly be updating their curriculums. Leaving some time for typing if people are adding a comment to the chat. Perhaps we've covered everything and there are no more questions. If that's the case, then I guess we just want to thank everyone for attending this session. And if anybody is looking for any additional information on it, feel free to contact either Jacob or myself, and we'd be happy to talk with you more about it.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We appreciate your attendance.
Yeah, it seems like you pretty well covered it, I guess. I appreciate that. That, obviously is always a challenge to keep the curriculum current and to make sure students get what they need for when they graduate. So I appreciate it. So we'll bring closure to this then. If there aren't any other comments, Jacob and Miriam, thank you very much.
Thank you for
And
having
thanks, Bob,
us.
for inviting us to present.